You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. A Saturday's game against Army, I'm not sure if you could have scripted any better for LSU. Well, maybe except for the Zy Alexander injury, but we'll get there. You had an easy win. You got to rest some of your injured players. You got your starters out early. You got tons of playing time for the young guys. And while you were coasting to a 62-0 win, Bama had a four-quarter dogfight against Tennessee where they had to come back from down 13 in the first half. So while you had a chill day going into your bye, the team you're going to see in Tuscaloosa in 2 weeks had to go 4 full quarters against a rival. I'm not sure it could have gone any better for LSU Saturday in Tiger Stadium. The pomp and circumstance was cool. I know a lot of people really appreciated all the tributes, the camouflaged end zones, the governor, who's a West Point grad, doing the ceremonial coin toss, the paratroopers, the 3 paratroopers that flew into Tiger Stadium, the alma maters at the end. Lots of really cool things that LSU did to honor the cadets of the United States Military Academy. The game itself was ho-hum and exactly what LSU needed. You needed to be efficient early to get a big enough lead to get your guys out of the game, and that's what LSU did. When I watch the LSU football games, and I chart, because we do Whiskey and Wine, so we have the post-game show, so like I have a notepad. And I take all my notes at the top of the page. On one side, I put good, and the other side, I put bad. So it's good plays that stand out, bad plays that stand out, in each half. In the first half, there were only 2 bad plays that I charted. One was the intentional grounding by Jaden Daniels, which led to a field goal, nitpicking. The other was Gregory Clayton and his continued inability to catch a punt. This is 3 consecutive weeks now where you've had an opponent pinned back, and you've lost chunks of yardage because Gregory Clayton won't field the ball. Missouri punted out of its end zone, downed you at your 8. Auburn punted out of its end zone, down you at your 22. And Army got a 58-yard punt off after you forced a 3-and-out on their first possession because Gregory Clayton can't field the ball. You need to replace him. It's time for Aaron Anderson to get in there and field punts. But aside from that, again, 2 very small things. LSU was awesome. You know that LSU has to stat compile with Jaden Daniels because he wasn't going to play the full game, so you needed him to get as much of a statistical outlier as he could in a short amount of time, and he did that. Jaden Daniels in just one half of football, 11 of 15 passing for 279 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And yes, he completely touchdown vultured John Emery when Emery got you down inside the 1 and probably scored. And then they went to the tush push on consecutive plays. Ultimately, Jaden Daniels getting in. As I believe it was Jordan Rogers said on the broadcast, that they don't ask how you scored them touchdowns. They just see him in the box score. And Jaden Daniels accounted for 4 touchdowns on Saturday. Your defense was awesome. Awesome and disciplined. And I think that's a huge part of what we saw on Saturday night. You're facing a non-traditional offense, and this is a defense that's been susceptible to giving up big plays because of the lack of discipline, not trusting your eyes. And this was a game where your linebackers were going to have to be really good, and by and large, they were. Your leading tackler on the day was Omar Spates, then Harold Perkins. Then Jordan Jefferson was next, and then Major Burns. So you did exactly what you had to do. Andre Sam came away with 2 interceptions. Ovie Agofu forced a fumble and came up with a fumble recovery. You allowed a rushing offense, only 3.5 yards per carry. You had 5 TFLs. You batted down 3 balls at the line of scrimmage. Your linebackers played great. Again, I understand the competition and who you were facing, but it hasn't mattered. Did you see Arkansas on Saturday? Did you see that Arkansas offense at home against Mississippi State put up 3 points and look anemic? That Arkansas offense that came into Baton Rouge and put up 420 yards and 31 points? Your defense is improving. I'm not telling you they're great or are going to be great at any point this season, but they are improving, getting closer to what we think might be the good enough to complement the best offense in college football. The most disappointing part of the game Saturday, obviously, was Zy Alexander's injury, and it was so unnecessary. I mean, the last play of the half, Army heaves up a ball, Zy Alexander intercepts it, and instead of just going down, he's trying to return it, and on the tackle, he gets injured. After the game, here's what Brian Kelly had to say about the Zy Alexander injury at the end of the first half.
A lower body injury that'll get evaluated here over the next 24, 48 hours. We'll get a better picture of that.
What I was told is that it's an ankle injury. He did leave on crutches, and whereas last Sunday when I had a conversation about Emory Jones and the feeling was he's going to be fine and they'll probably just give him a week off and get him ready for Bama, it was a 180 from that when talking about Zy Alexander. It's a long way to go. We're 2 weeks away from LSU Bama. He could rest, get treatment, and he could recover. Don't know. But it's decidedly, I think, less optimistic about Zy Alexander being available for Alabama, and that stings because he has been your best cover guy all season. That's not saying much because the secondary struggled, but he's been your best guy. And something else that's interesting that was pointed out to me after the game as well is that Zy Alexander has actually switched sides of the field from the field side to the short side. Is essentially he's switched. So Sage Ryan played that wide side cornerback, and Zy Alexander switched sides and was playing better there. I was actually told that Brian Kelly at practice has been spending more of his time with the cornerbacks. He's sort of taken that on as his personal project to help continue to improve that room. And you maybe felt like you were gaining some traction there, and then that disappointing injury, and your best cornerback could be out against Alabama. That's the one gigantic bummer about what happened Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, is that injury to Zy Alexander. The flip side of it is, because you were able to get your starters out after the first half, and your starters played the first possession of the second half, except for Jaden Daniels. And Brian Kelly, during his halftime interview with Gordy on the LSU Sports Radio Network, essentially said that last touchdown before half, and when LSU called the timeout with a minute and a half left, got the ball and very quickly scored. They hit the deep ball to Malik Neighbors right before half. It was the 26-yarder to Malik Neighbors right before half to put LSU up 38-0. Brian Kelly said, look, that last touchdown changes the dynamics of how they approached the second half because they were up 5 scores. And so Nussmeier played the entire second half. We did get to see, after the first drive of the second half, we got to see the second offensive line, which from left to right was Bordelon, Macanaioli, DJ Chester at center, Martinez at right guard, and then Zalance Hurd stayed and played the entire game at right tackle, and he needed those reps in case if he has to play against Alabama. But that was certainly good to see the offense roll the way they did. Nussmeier played a clean game. The one thing that we always talk about with Nuss that you got to be sort of mindful of are the turnovers. 7 of 12, 90 yards. He threw the deep touchdown, the 51-yarder to Malik Neighbors. No interceptions, good decision-making with the ball, and got to play the entire second half. Jeremiah Hughes, the freshman corner out of Las Vegas, played in the second half. Kylan Jackson, who Brian Kelly referenced a couple of weeks ago, the freshman safety out of Zachary, who Kelly sort of joked and said, well, he's learned how to tie his shoes and he's not wearing his chain during pregame anymore. Kylan Jackson saw his first action. He wears number 23, so it was good to see him get out there. Trey Holly, freshman running back, ripped off the 67-yarder at the end of the game. He was named SEC Freshman of the Week this week, led LSU in rushing. So a lot of really good things. You got the Logan Diggs only took 6 carries. Essentially, you allowed all your starters to have a bye, an open date, before you go into the open date. So you should be healthy and ready to go take your swing at Alabama coming up a week from Saturday with control of the SEC West on the line. I'm not sure if you had grabbed a pen and a paper and tried to script that game Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, it could have gone any better than it did, save the injury to Zy Alexander. All right, LSU wins 62-0. They beat Army. Now they head into their open date before a trip to Alabama, and a lot on the line as the calendar turns to November. And after 2 losses in September, I'm not sure many of us thought that might be the case, but here we are. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.